Welcome back to the Barrel Slug Podcast. We are back with another episode of Let's Talk About It. The second round of the NBA playoffs has been amazing, except for really one series in Boston and Cleveland. But the other three series have delivered, and we got a lot to talk about, man. Timberwolves. Scary hours right now for Timberwolves fans around the world. You go up 2-0, and there's a lot of talk on a lot of sports media all over talking about Minnesota going to the finals. That's how dominant Minnesota was in the first two games, including me. I was like, this is a whole new Minnesota Timberwolves team with a whole new identity, it felt like. But then it's like, you're playing the defending champion Denver Nuggets. I didn't want to say the series was over because defending champions, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt to go out and respond, in which they did, winning 3 straight games. Both 2 games in Minnesota and then winning Game 5 in Denver, forcing a Game 6 back in Minnesota. And, God, there's just a lot of talk around the NBA world right now about this game, and mainly about Rudy Gobert and his defensive ability. My overview on it, that's where we're going to start, just talking about this series, and then we're going to get into Pacers, Knicks, OKC, Dallas, how that's going. But looking at this, it's tough because me watching the entirety of that game yesterday, Rudy Gobert, there's a lot of times where Rudy Gobert's there, has a hand up, makes a contest, Jokic still finds a way to make it. Those are really not the problems I have with it. It's more so the one-on-one ISOs in the post where he's just getting bullied, where he's just getting back down. It seems like there's just no resistance at all. Jokic is just getting what he wants on the one-on-one situations in the post. Rudy Gobert seems like it's putting up no fight whatsoever. It's Jokic just bullying, 1, 2 dribbles, hook. 1, 2 dribbles, spin, layup. And then there's other times where it's Jokic in the mid area, in the mid-range, or even on the elbow where he passes it to the wing and Jokic is acting like he's going to set a screen, slips right to the basket, and then it's a layup. Those are the more so circumstances in the game where I look at the defense. I don't look at the defense on the sidestep 3 that Jokic had at the top of the key late in the game, where Rudy Gobert obviously had a hand up, obviously was a good contestant, he still made it. It's the just getting bullied in the post. It's the just getting walked and ran by because you're not quick enough laterally. Those are the problems I have, because all it takes is for Jokic to slip that screen, get the ball, then somebody has to help because Rudy Gobert got beat. Swing, kick, Aaron Gordon, that's a layup or a dunk for him. That's a swing for a KCP3. That's a swing for Jamal Murray to get an easy look, who they've done a phenomenal job on Jamal Murray. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Anthony Edwards, especially last night, Jaden McDaniels, they have made life hell on Jamal Murray in the series. He got it going a little bit late, but at that point the game was already over. But through the course of the game, they have done a phenomenal job on Jamal Murray, making life hell on him. But it's more so, I've been hearing a lot of talk just on Twitter and everything else about what they should do. What is the mindset? What adjustments are going to be made? I think they've just really figured out what they are going to do with Rudy Gobert, because if you're Denver and the Wolves are going to continue to just let Rudy Gobert play one-on-one with Jokic, they love that matchup. Rudy Gobert is a very specific defender. He's gotten better laterally in terms of getting switched onto a guard on perimeter. He's gotten so much better at that since a couple of years ago when he was in Utah. But it's more so like when he's matched up with Jokic specifically, obviously this is the best player in the world, 3-time MVP. So it's going to be hard no matter what. But this is also the defensive player of the year, multiple times. So you would think there's some level of resistance at some point. Like I said, I'm talking about the one-on-one instances where he's just getting abused in the paint. Like Rudy Gobert isn't over 7 feet tall. Abused in the paint. Just blown by. Walked by. At times. That's the point I'm getting at. And it's like he's a very specific defender where he's just not strong enough to really bang with Jokic down low with his size. And it's just, it's so crazy. It's tougher to me because this goes back to the Utah days. Everybody else on this Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Minnesota Timberwolves team is way better defense all around than that Utah Jazz team, just on the perimeter in general. But they're holding everybody else in check. Michael Porter Jr. has been quiet all series long. Jamal Murray's been held in check all series long from his usual output in the playoffs. KCP's, yes, Jamal Murray and KCP has been banged up, but that's no excuse. They're still playing. KCP's relatively been held in check from 3. He had a good game. He had 4 yesterday, but those were all on the downward spiral in the game. On the perimeter, they've done a phenomenal job of making other people beat you. And then your defensive player of the year, where you're looking at him to go get the stop, it's like you can't put him on Jokic because Jokic is going to put him in the post and abuse him. And then you put him in the help and then put somebody else on Jokic to have Rudy Gobert be the help side defender. And then once Rudy Gobert is the help side defender and Jokic gets around the first man, he has to help. And then Aaron Gordon's going to get either the offensive rebound, put back dunk, or he's going to find him in that little dunker area and he's going to get a foul, go to the line, or make a layup and make a play. And then when you put Rudy Gobert on Aaron Gordon's getting off. So wherever you're putting Rudy Gobert, the opposing player is just getting off. I'm never one to question his defensive ability and say he has fraudulent defensive player of the years. But there's a reoccurring theme in the playoffs where this continuously happens. This continues to happen. I understand. It's Nikola Jokic. I understand. This is a 3-time MVP, the best player in the world. You can't do nothing with him. But this is also the defensive player of the year multiple times running. 7-2, the best rim protector in basketball. And I feel like when it gets to situations like this in the playoffs, there's been multiple times where it's like he seems small, it seems like, to where he's getting abused. Like, I've never ever, last night, I don't think we've ever seen a defensive player of the year get abused like that last night. Just worked out in the post. One-on-one. Worked out in the post. No physicality. It felt like Jokic just did whatever he wanted to, and Rudy Gobert, like I said, I'm not tripping about the threes or like the crazy shots that he was making where Rudy Gobert had to contest. He was just having a great game in Nikola Jokic. I'm talking about the one-on-one. You have to stand your ground. You're the defensive player of the year. You have to stand your ground in the post one-on-one. He is just getting completely abused. And it's like, he had like 17 points last night. They let you get that 17. They're cool with you getting 17. Because that 17 points isn't really impactful because they held Anthony Edwards in check. Because every time Anthony Edwards got a touch, they were doubling him. Now, looking towards Anthony Edwards, they have to do a better job, and he has to do a better job of getting open better. I feel like he kind of, early on in that game, recognized they were just throwing the double every catch, and he kind of just started to defer. He had like 9 assists last night. He just went into a playmaking mode and wasn't really that aggressive. And then when it was time for him to be aggressive, and we'll get into this is a theme, when it's time for him to get aggressive, he wasn't in a rhythm. And the double team made it hard for him to get into a rhythm, but he needs to do more so. I feel like, I have it in my notes right here, kind of do what they're doing with Brunson. And a lot of guard-to-guard screens rather than having Rudy Gobert set the screen or Karl-Anthony Towns set the screen. Because that's just allowing them to put a bigger body on Anthony Edwards in terms of the double. With you put an Aaron Gordon on him. Or even in some cases, Nikola Jokic isn't the best defender, but putting a bigger body on him to make that double team more effective with his hands up. So when you're looking at what they need to do, I think a lot of guard-to-guard screens. I think him getting a screen with, like, say, Monte Morris or Nickeil Alexander-Walker's man, getting a Jamal Murray on him defensively. To where you are fine when you rotate and kick out of your double team back to the screener, or having Anthony Edwards be the screener, if this makes sense. Getting it back to whoever Anthony Edwards is. So the point guard, if Monte Morris sets the screen, Anthony Edwards comes off, they're sending the double off that. You can give it to Monte Morris, and Monte Morris can make a play, which Monte Morris deserved to get more playing time than he did last night because he was making plays as soon as he got in the game. Or even when you have Anthony Edwards be the screener for Monte Morris or Mike Conley if he's healthy to negate the doubles, you have Anthony Edwards be the screener, and you have him going to slips. You have him going to fade screens with Golden State does, where they fake the screen and then he goes off into the wing, and then that's an easy isolation spot because it's so hard to guard. They need to get more creative in getting him open, because I felt like soon as they started the game and he recognized they were just doubling him off rip every time he caught the ball damn near, especially on ball screens, he kind of just started to defer. And with Karl-Anthony Towns banged up and they don't, and Mike Conley out of the game, they don't have another offensive option. It has to be Anthony Edwards. So when you're looking at that, he can't just defer. He cannot afford to just defer because they need his scoring. And with how bad of a first half I felt like Minnesota had, they were in this game throughout. Karl-Anthony Towns was banged up. I feel like he had a pretty good game for the circumstances of him being hurt. I thought Nickeil Alexander-Walker with coming into the starting lineup and Mike Conley being out for the Achilles soreness, felt like he gave you a great game. Had like 4 threes, gave you a great game. Jamie Daniels, you know what you're going to get from Jamie Daniels. Anything you get offensively is a plus because his defense is that elite. And you got 17 from Rudy Gobert. Mind you, I don't really think that was the most impactful 17, but whatever. They were still in this game. They still had a chance to win this game and towards the end of the game. And then Denver goes on the run to close it out. And it's just like, it sucks. But adjustment-wise, here's what they need to do. Other than the Anthony Edwards stuff. Mike Conley being out, it's tough. Have to adjust. You have to adjust if he's going to miss the Game 6. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker off rip guarding Jamal Murray and what he's been able to give you from 3, I think that's been a plus. I feel like he filled that role good for what he's able to do. Obviously, he's not the playmaker that Mike Conley is, but he had a good game. The key to them winning this series and pulling this off, Naz Reid. Let me list the numbers. Game 1, 16 points. Game 2, 14 points. Game 3, 7 points. Game 4, 11 points. Game 5, 7 points. His minutes have gone down every single game pretty much. Obviously, the last 3, including the one last night, he's been in foul trouble. Obviously, he had picked up a couple too early in the first half, and then he really was out of rhythm. But he's the key. I'm not coming out here and saying that they need to bench Rudy Gobert, but they need to monitor those minutes. Because you can't allow him to, obviously you can't allow Rudy and Jokic to play one-on-one. You know how that goes. So, I think the primary option on Jokic needs to be Naz Reid. It has to be Naz Reid. He's the best of both of Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns. He has the Karl-Anthony Towns offensive ability to space the floor and create off the dribble, but he has the length and size to help defend Nikola Jokic. Obviously, Naz Reid has to stay out of foul trouble. That's by far the first thing that I gotta say. He has to stay out of foul trouble, so he has to be on the court. He's too valuable an option. He's at most times their second best option offensively, depending on what kind of Karl-Anthony Towns you get that game. But he has to be the option. He has to be. He's quick enough laterally, and he has the length and the size to help defend Jokic. And I feel like when it has been one-on-one with Naz Reid and Jokic, he's done a great job, especially when he's not in foul trouble and he can be more physical, because Naz Reid can match up with him on the perimeter, and Naz Reid is quick enough to be able to guard him in transition. I think that's the key. I think that's what they need to do. They have to get more minutes where Karl-Anthony Towns and Naz Reid are on the court together at the front court, and Rudy Gobert's on the bench. Because if that's just going to open the floor up. When you look at the game Rudy Gobert didn't play in, and I believe it was game 2. So it was game 2 he didn't play in. And Naz Reid and Karl-Anthony Towns, Naz Reid had 14 in this game. They beat Denver on the road again. When you look at the ability that Anthony Edwards has to just get downhill and get to the paint, because you can't leave Karl-Anthony Towns. You can't leave Naz Reid. Offensively, I understand Rudy Gobert has an impact defensively, but offensively, this team struggles. This team struggles desperately offensively. And when you're looking at it, the paint is going to be so much more open when you have nothing but shooting around Anthony Edwards. Then Anthony Edwards can defer when he gets to the paint. It's like, okay, you're going to help. I'm going to get Karl-Anthony Towns in the corner, wide open 3. I'm going to get Naz Reid open shot. So it's like they need to Nasri, for one, has to stay out of foul trouble. That's the big thing, because he is the key to this whole series, in my opinion, especially going forward. They have to monitor their Gobert minutes, because I feel like if he's not being the defensive player of the year and getting stops one-on-one, I'm not talking about the other stuff. I'm talking about the one-on-one in the post, getting bullied and getting just blown by on the perimeter. He's too much of a detriment offensively, especially if he's not getting stops and he's not protecting the rim. That's the problem. He's too much of a negative offensively, and teams are fine with him getting off and him getting his little 15 to 20 because they know they've won the game that night if he's doing that. I'm not saying he'd never won a game with him scoring 15 to 20, but I'm just saying the impact of what he's able to do, they are fine with letting Rudy Gobert get off if they know it's going to be a problem to Anthony Edwards getting to the basket. Just look at game 2. Look at the game he didn't play. Everybody was hooping on Minnesota. The court was open. There was spacing. They were still fine defensively. But it's like, now you're looking at, okay, Rudy Gobert, obviously. Then you're just like, oh, it's Jokic, 3-time MVP. I understand. I've said he's a decoy. I've said that already. Then it's like, okay, we're having him guard Aaron Gordon. And then Aaron Gordon's getting off on Rudy Gobert. So it's like what are you supposed to do? Like, what are you supposed to do? I understand there's some times where he's just having a great game and Rudy Gobert can't do shit about it. There was times in that game where he's just one-on-one getting worked. This is the defensive player of the year. 7-2, defensive player of the year. In the post. Back down, lay. Hook. Over. Those are the ones that I'm frustrated about. You're the defensive player of the year. Defensive player of the year. I don't mean to go in on him too much, but I mean, the proof is right there. Defensive player of the year. One-on-one situations. The ones I'm talking about. All the one-on-one situations. Getting abused. Getting back down like he's not even there. There was like no resistance put up, I felt like. And Nikola Jokic was just having a great game in general. But like, there just felt like there was no resistance put forth at all by Rudy Gobert. They got to make a judgment. I think Nasri's the key to solving the puzzle. I really do. I think he's the key to solving everything for them, because he has the offensive and defensive ability that they need to help them offensively and be more versatile defensively in terms of switching. So, Game 6, I'm recording this, and Cavs, Celtics play, and Dallas and OKC play their game 5 tonight. So this is at the time of this recording, we already know what happens there, and Game 6 is going to be tomorrow night. Looking at Denver side of things, championship pedigree they've just shown in these past 3 games, winning 3 in a row. That was probably one of the best Nikola Jokic games I've seen of his career, just all around. The playmaking ability, no turnovers. He's had a turnover problem in this playoff so far. Looking at it in that aspect, like, man, they made the adjustments to the physicality, and I know Jamal Murray's had a tough series, banged up, but they've been doing a phenomenal job on him. Nikola Jokic shouldering the load. They've had big, timely shots. Christian Braun's been huge for them, especially because Michael Porter Jr. has been unplayable in late-game situations, just because I just think it's a tough matchup for Michael Porter Jr. But looking at it, Denver championship pedigree, they're showing it right now. They responded great to being down 0-2. I'm really interested to see what happens tomorrow night in Game 6. But going into next series, Knicks and Pacers. Knicks go up 3-2. Pacers have no answer for Brunson. Not a single answer. There's nothing they can do to stop him. I've never seen I guess Nikola Jokic in a way. But for Brunson to be a guard at his size, I've never seen a guard adjust on the fly as much as Jalen Brunson. They get blown out in Game 4 in Indiana. Then they come out, and it seems like every time it looks like the other team has found an answer for Jalen Brunson, they figure out a new way around it. When you're looking at what the Knicks are doing, guard-to-guard screens, and Jalen Brunson's just getting the matchup he wants. So they're getting whoever Nembhard or Halliburton's guarding, ball screen, switch, because everything's a switch in today's NBA. So he comes off the screen, gets the matchup he wants, and he is, I mean, Nembhard's there. Like, there was a call where Jalen Brunson had a tough move. Nembhard was there. Just Jalen Brunson was just better. Because with the size of Nembhard, Jalen Brunson can get his shot up over him. And then you put an athletic body like Nesmith on him, who wants to get physical, who's more athletic, who's a bigger body. Jalen Brunson, being patient off the ball screen, gets him in foul trouble. You want to be physical with Jalen Brunson? That's fine. You're probably going to get in foul trouble because he wants you to get physical with him so he can't get to the free throw line. Then you want to put a smaller, quicker guard on him like Nembhard. That's fine. He's going to slow the pace down. He's going to be able to rise up and get the three ball over him. He's going to be able to be physical with a smaller player. He has the whole package offensively. There's no guard or defender in the league to where you're like, okay, I like that with Jalen Brunson. We can really negate of what he wants to do because he's so crafty and he's so smart with the basketball. It's so hard to stop him. Him and Jokic have really been unstoppable forces in this playoffs. I'm interested to see if they get out of this series, how they match up with Boston and Jrue Holiday and Derek White, because those are going to be the two best perimeter defenders they have played. But I think we'll get into it like in a week from now, if that series even does happen, if the Knicks can get out of this one. I think Jaylen Brown could possibly be the matchup for him. I think Jaylen Brown has the lateral quickness and the size to keep up with Brunson. I think that would be a good matchup to see. But looking at it, they haven't been able to find a way to stop him. Everything they do, Brunson finds a work around to stopping it. Like I said, they just got something special going, man. I mean, when they're in the Garden, it's electric to see. DiVincenzo had a not so great game, but he brought the energy that I feel like they were lacking in game 4. Josh Hart did his thing. Isaiah Hartenstein's going to get fucking paid this offseason. Man, is he going to get paid. His ability, his rebounding and rim protecting ability, he can really do everything because he's such a smart passer in handoff situations. So I really think he's going to get paid this summer. Because I think he had a phenomenal game, and he's really being put on a stage to where he can show his full ability with a Mitch Robb out and with a Randall out. So he's really the focal point at that 5 spot. You have Precious Achiuwa, but Isaiah Hartenstein brings so much to the table for them. Looking at the Pacers side of things, God, the Pacers are a frustrating team to watch in situations like this. Because looking at it, there might be the only team I've seen move the ball too much. They'll have possessions where it's just swing. And then it results in a bad shot because somebody's swinging the ball too much. I think they don't give Siakam enough ISO touches, especially with OG Anunoby out of the lineup for the Knicks. I understand Josh Hart is a very good physical defender. Pascal Siakam is still a taller, tough matchup for Josh Hart. And if you can just get Siakam ISO looks and try to get Josh Hart in some foul trouble, that's going to change everything New York wants to do. It's going to change everything New York wants to do. But they don't look for him in situations offensively. I feel like they kind of move, when I say move the ball too much, I feel like there's times where you can get into the half court set and Pascal Siakam will automatically have the mismatch. He will automatically have it in the post, off the transition. And then it's like swing, gives the New York Knicks time to adjust and get that switch back. Instead of just with how fast-paced they are, you would think they would get into the half court. Bam, Pascal already has the mismatch. He already has a DiVincenzo or a Josh Hart on him. I'm saying Josh Hart is a mismatch size-wise. We know Josh Hart's a good physical defender, like I've said, but looking at it, why in transition sometimes is Pascal Siakam just not getting the post touch? You brought him here for a reason. He's had good games in this series, but I feel like there's times where they just completely just go away from him. In this series, I feel like he doesn't get enough ISO looks to try to get Josh Hart or even a DiVincenzo in foul trouble sometimes, depending on some of the lineups New York uses. And then the main problem in the series is Tyrese Haliburton. It's Tyrese Haliburton. Look at the games. I got shots per game. Game 1, 6 shots, a loss. Game 2, 19 shots, loss. Game 3, 26 shots, win. Game 4, 15 shots, win. Game 5, 9 shots, a loss. He's a pass-first point guard, I understand that. There are times where he is not even involved in the offense late in the game. He is just a spot-up shooter, spotting up on the wing or in the corner and letting Nembhard go to work. Nembhard's been great offensively. It's just tough. He has a tough assignment in Jalen Brunson, and nobody's been able to stop Jalen Brunson. But offensively, I could say he's outplayed Tyrese Haliburton this series. I could say TJ McConnell's outplayed him in this series, off the bench. TJ McConnell's been phenomenal for him, off the bench. I just never know what Tyrese Haliburton I'm going to get. Am I going to get the Tyrese Haliburton that's uber aggressive, gets into a rhythm early, and then when it's time in the game, then he defers and gets his other teammates involved when he already has a rhythm going? Or am I going to get the, I'm just going to pass and be deferred off the pick and roll and not really look for my own shots till late in the game when it don't fucking matter? Probably 4 of his shots late game came when the game was already over. He had 5 shots up until a point when I was watching the game, when I was looking at the box score. He had 5 shots taken. Game was already over. Game was tucked in bed at that point already. It's just the lack of aggressiveness where I'm just no wonder you're getting blown out right now because your main point guard isn't aggressive. I understand you're a first point guard, but when I come out in the third quarter, Miles Turner bangs out 3 straight threes and a lead that the Knicks had gets cut to single digits, and then the game gets blown wide the fuck open. And then all of a sudden when the game's already over and in bed, basically, then I see Tyrese Haliburton want to be aggressive and get to the basket. Then I'm just game's already over. It's already done. It's already done. I just don't. When he's aggressive, they're a completely different team. Because then you have to guard him. But when the Knicks see he's not in the rhythm, they're okay, you're just going to go in the corner and spot up, which is what just happens throughout stretches of the game where he's just completely off the ball. And it's not like he's moving off the ball. He's basically just a catch-and-shoot shooter while Nembhard is just being the main point guard. It's very confusing to me. It's so confusing to me. So confusing to me. When you look at the 2 games they won, he was aggressive. And you look at the games they lost, 6 shots, 9 shots, and both of those were losses. They lost a tough one in game 2 when he had 19 shots. Where they were in that game because he was being aggressive. So I don't understand the lack of aggression from Tyrese Haliburton. I don't. Because there's times in the game where I'm okay, if Tyrese Haliburton had it going at this point, they would be able to win and pull out this game. Like in game 1. The close fought game, they could have won that game. But he wasn't even involved or aggressive. But I honestly think this is just a tough matchup. I think Jalen Brunson looked a lot healthier than he did in game 4 and game 5. So it's interesting to see what happens in game 6 back in Indy. But I just think, God, Indiana, the defense is really showing. The lack of defense on the perimeter is really showing. Because Jalen Brunson's just getting whatever he wants. DiVincenzo's getting off. Josh Hart's getting off. The defense on the perimeter is just non-existent at times. And I understand Jalen Brunson is a tough matchup. And he's worked around every scheme that the Sixers use and the Pacers have used. But it's just they don't really even have anybody to throw on him. That's how it is. They don't have any real sit-down defenders to throw on him. You could say Nesmith is a sit-down defender, but he's more of an energy guy, if that. And Jalen Brunson's worked around him. So, just a tough matchup for the Pacers, like I said, going into this series. Kind of talking about Cavs and Celtics. Game 5 is tonight in Boston. This series is over. No D. Mitch already confirmed for the game tonight. No Jared Allen. This series is pretty much over. Cavs going to be making some big moves this offseason. That's really all I have to say about this series. Cavs are going to be making some big fucking moves this offseason. Because I feel like Darius Garland has been non-existent at times in the series. And then Darius Garland goes off for 30 in a game where they were in the game, for sure. Without Donovan Mitchell, I'm where was this at when Donovan Mitchell was playing? It's not like you didn't have your shot attempts when Donovan Mitchell was on the court. So that's all I got to say. Not having Jared Allen definitely hurts because I feel like he would have been huge in this series because Without Porzingis, they could have dominated the rebounding battle and really slowed the game down. But no Jared Allen, no Donovan Mitchell. Series tucked in bed, so we'll move on to the conference finals. Jason Tatum finally arrived. That was a good sight to see. He was finally being aggressive, getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line instead of just settling for 3 after 3 after 3. That was a good sight to see. Hopefully he can keep that going into the conference finals. If they match up with the Knicks, I feel like it's going to be a very good series. Then we're getting into Dallas OKC. Dallas gave Game 4 away on a silver platter. Gave it away to the OKC Thunder. Had a comfortable lead throughout most of the second half, and then bad shot, turnover. OKC's back in the game, in the driver's seat. SGA has it going late in the game because he's in a rhythm. Kyrie has to be more aggressive. He must be more aggressive. I mean, looking at the shot chart from last game, PJ Washington had 19 shots to Kyrie's 11 shots. I understand PJ Washington has had it going. 19 to 11 in shot attempts from him to Kyrie Irving. That has to change. Kyrie Irving has to be aggressive. Because when you're looking at Game 3 in Dallas, Kyrie was doing it all, right? Defensively, playmaking, but throughout the end of that game, he had a rhythm offensively. And he was able to hit big, timely shots down the stretch of that game to close that game out. So when you're looking at it in this game, he tried to do the same thing, but he just wasn't in an offensive rhythm because he wasn't being aggressive throughout the whole game. And in a series where Luka Doncic is obviously banged up, offensively, Kyrie Irving should be the focal point. Luka Doncic should be playing off of Kyrie Irving. I'm not saying Kyrie Irving can't go out here and play because he had like 9-10 assists in this one. I'm saying that he has to be aggressive offensively because in late game situations, when Luka Doncic is obviously banged up, the focal point, the guy offensively has to be Kyrie Irving. And I feel like late in this game, Dallas made a bunch of bad shot selections and a bunch of bad decisions that led OKC to get their foot in the door to win this game in the first place. When Kyrie tried to take over the game, he just wasn't in an offensive rhythm. PJ Washington, 19 shots. I understand he's had it going, but that's a lot of shots for PJ Washington. A lot of shots for PJ Washington. And also the free throw shooting has to be better. Has to be better. Across the whole board, I think OKC missed one free throw. I want to say they were 24 for 25 from the free throw line. Dallas was abysmal from free throw. Got to be better. Have to be better. Even the late game one from Luka, you got to make both there. You have to make both. No question, you have to make both. In terms of OKC side of things, you really just got enough from the others to get it done. J-Dub didn't really have the best game shooting-wise, but SGA down the stretch of that game, you got enough from the others to get it done. I would bench Josh Giddey. I just think those minutes with Josh Giddey, you're giving the Mavs an out to exploit you. You're giving the Mavs an ability to really be able to win those minutes with Josh Giddey on the court. Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, whoever you want to throw in that starting role, Isaiah Joe brings them a lot more shooting. I just think those minutes with Giddey are just, it's not a good fit. I think they're allowing Dallas to just win those minutes with him on the court. His minutes have gone down and down every single game. He's not even in the game really in the fourth quarter at all like that. But like with him being on the court, they're allowing Dallas to have a way and a foot in the door to winning those minutes with him on the court. So he's such a weird player because he's a guard that has good guard skills, but he's an inconsistent shooter and he can't guard. Those are two things that in the playoffs will kill you. It will kill a team. You have a guard that can't defend and can't shoot, and they're letting him shoot. It's a recipe for disaster. I would just completely bench him because I think those minutes are just not good. I understand he has guard, but you're allowing them to play 4-on-5 on defense. and allowing them to just load up on SGA, load up on Jalen Williams. And I think those minutes would rather be suited for Isaiah Joe, who can space the floor, Cason Wallace, who can space the floor and defend. He had 2 big threes in this game in transition. Aaron Wiggins has been good for them. But I feel like those minutes for Josh Giddey just gives Dallas an out and a way to exploit the OKC Thunder. So game 5 is tonight back in OKC. Gonna be very interesting to see how Luka Doncic performs. Because I feel like Dallas gave this one away. I think Dallas was in a really good position throughout game 4 to go up 3-1 and to really close this series out, possibly on the road in game 5. But left the door open. Now it's 2-2 going back to OKC. Gonna be very interesting to see the rest of the series. But that was really all I have for this episode of Let's Talk About It. We'll be back possibly in a couple of days, depending on how the series end up going, because we're getting to the end of the second round series. See who goes home. We'll talk about that if it does happen. But all the game 7s are, if they do go game 7s, are, I know the Knicks and Pacers one is on Sunday, and I think the Minnesota Timberwolves and Denver Nuggets one is also on Sunday. So if both of those series go 7, we'll have an episode probably on Monday. Even then, I think we'll have probably an episode on Monday, depending on how it all goes with my schedule and how we're working and everything else like that. But that's all I have for this episode of Let's Talk About It. Thank you guys for tuning into the Barrel Talk podcast. Hope you tune in to future episodes.